get started with November. Okay. So this week we are going to cover stories between November 2nd to November 8th actually. So first we will cover between November 2nd to November 5th and then 6th and 8th. Okay, we will be dividing into two parts. First more stories and we will need to take. So first part will be covering these people. Okay, and these are all the new stories. Even I was not aware of a lot of them. So any idea about anyone out of these six? Quickly go over it. Samarth, do you have any idea? Any name? Just tell me any name. Mandit? Aditi? No? No idea? No. That's fine.
Is one of them Haldane?
Yeah, one of them is Haldane. This person is Haldane. Yes. That's good actually.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a mix of everyone, like scientists, freedom fighters, and revolutionaries. And
One of them is with a gun.
yes, one of them is again. We'll come to that story actually. Very interesting story. So let's get started. The first story we have is a Sagarmal Gopa. Yeah, this is his photo. So he was born on 3rd November 1900 in Jaisalmer. The Jaisalmer was a separate state then. It had a separate Maharaja or king. It was ruled by Maharaja Jawahar Singh, and who was not very popular with the people of Jaisalmer. His ways were very brutal. So people were not very happy with him. Now Sagarmal's father was at a very high post in the court of Maharaja, but Sagarmal had other passion for different ideas. Okay, he had a passion for freedom. At that time, this was the time when the freedom movement was going on in entire country, right, and the rest of the part. So he was inspired by that. He also wanted the freedom from Maharaja. At the age of 15, he established a library in Jaisalmer. And he was also a writer, and he published a lot of articles against the hooliganism of the Jaisalmer state. There was a lot of gundagandi in the state by the people of Maharaja. So he published articles against them. He was very much against those actions. He participated in various rebellion against Maharaja. So after all this, he was banned from the Jaisalmer state and also from Hyderabad state. The Nawaz of Hyderabad was Nizam of Hyderabad was a fan of the friend of Jaisalmer Maharaja. So he was banned from both the states, Jaisalmer and Hyderabad. So he went to Nagpur and stayed there and continued his struggle through newspapers and books. He published a lot of articles on the brutality of the Jaisalmer Maharaja. In 1940, he had to return to Jaisalmer because of the death of his father. So he had to come back. So earlier he was told that nothing will happen to him if he comes back. But then when he went there, he was arrested and sent to jail for 6 years. And in jail, he was given a lot of torture in prison. An attempt was also made to burn him alive by putting hot oil on him. Okay. And so this was very painful for him, and he died a painful death ultimately in jail in 1946. But this sacrifice of him, okay, inspired a lot of people, especially in the Jaisalmer state, and they vehemently participated in the freedom struggle. Ultimately, Jaisalmer state was merged into the independent India, right, and it became part of the Bharat, India that we got. Now, in his honor, there is a canal, Indira Gandhi Canal, which is the India's largest canal. Okay, so the part of
we had that in our one of our school EBS topic.
Good. Yeah. So Indira Gandhi Canal is the largest or longest canal in India, and the part of that canal near Jaisalmer is named after Sagarmal Gopa in his honor. So, and that is why he deserves to be in the heroes list, right? For his the struggle for the freedom. So that's the first story. Second story we have is of Vasudev Balwant Phadke, the man with the gun, right? The photo. Okay. Who was he? Okay. So Vasudev Balwant Phadke was born in Sirdhon village of Maharashtra on 4th November 1845. He was one of the earliest graduates of Bombay University. So he did graduation from Bombay University. After that, he moved to Pune and set up Pune Native Institution in 1860, okay, at a very young age, with Vaman Prabhakar Bhave and Lakshman Nahar Indapurkar. And why it is important? Because this Pune institution later became Maharashtra Education Society (MES) and is still active in Pune. It is one of the best schools in Pune. Okay. So
Wow.
yeah, so that the foundation of that was laid by Vasudev Balwant Phadke. Now, Vasudev Balwant Phadke is called the father of Indian armed revolution. Okay, the revolution that was using military means, using the guns and other means. Yeah. Why? Because he was one of the first one to start such revolutions. And during the famine of 1876-77, which was there in the state of Maharashtra, he toured different villages across and was horrified by the apathy of the authorities. People treated very badly in the famine. So he was deeply affected by the conditions of the poor. And then he called for the Swaraj. Okay. And long before other leaders, we know that Lala Lajpat Rai and others called for Swaraj. But Vasudev Balwant Phadke was the first one to call for Swaraj, long before others, okay, other leaders. Okay. Because
Who was Swaraj?
Swaraj means self-rule. Okay. At that time, the like this we are talking about the late 18th century, 1877, 1875, right? So then India was ruled by British, and under British the conditions were very bad, especially of the poor. So Swaraj is basically our rule, self-rule. Okay, ending the British rule. Okay, so that was the meaning of Swaraj. So then he started a revolution. So in his revolution, he was in Pune, right? So he initially tried to get support of Pune's educated people. He approached a lot of educated people there and wanted to become a part of the revolution he was starting, but he did not get any success. Then he went around the villages of Pune and formed a revolutionary group called Ramoshi. Okay, that's a revolutionary army he formed with the villagers, okay, who were living around the Pune in 1875. The army had over 300 men, and they launched raids on wealthy British to obtain funds. So there were British who were very rich. Okay, so they would loot them and get the funds for the revolutionary activities. He even managed to get control over Pune for a few days by launching a surprise attack. They launched an attack on the important places in Pune. They hold off that and made Pune free for a few days. Ultimately, British counterattacked and he had to escape to Sri Shaila Mallikarjuna in Andhra Pradesh. He went there and stayed in a temple. He started another revolution with the help of Rohillas, Arabs, and Sikhs of Nizam's army. Nizam was the ruler of Hyderabad that time. So he contacted these people and started another revolution there. But he was betrayed by his own people there and he was arrested by the British in July 1879. Ultimately, he died in jail at the age of 37. At a very young age, he died in jail. But this story of Vasudev Balwant Phadke inspired a lot of armed revolution across India. You must have heard about Bankim Chandra Chatterjee and his famous novel Anand Mat. Anand Mat was
Yes.
a famous novel.
Bankim Chandra Chatterjee.
Yes, yes. And the story was inspired by Vasudev Balwant Phadke, the story of Anand Mat.
Bankim Chandra Chatterjee wrote our this,
Vande
right?
Vande Mataram. Yes,
Yes.
yes. So in his story,
We learned.
yes. So Vande Mataram.
Our teacher told Hindi teacher.
Yes, the Vande Mataram is also taken from Anand Mat. And the story of Anand Mat is a novel. It's inspired by the real life story of Vasudev Balwant Phadke. Okay. So that is why Vasudev Balwant Phadke, especially for Maharashtra and Pune, he is a very important person. Okay. So that's our second story. The third story we have is Janaki Ammal. And and she was a scientist. Let's see what her story is. So Edavalat Kakkar Janaki Ammal, that was her full name, was born in Tellicherry in Kerala on 4th November 1897. She received her honors degree in botany from the Presidency College in Madras in 1921 and taught at Women's Christian College there, again in Madras. So she graduated in botany, and that was her area of research. Botany is what? Do you know what is botany is? Botany is the study of plants, okay? Flowers and plants. She went, then she got a scholarship from US University of Michigan. She went there and completed her master's and PhD from the University of Michigan. Janaki Ammal was a renowned botanist and a plant cytologist. What is plant cytology? The study of plants under microscope. Okay, you study the tissues of plants. The microscopic study of plants is called a cytology. And she was one of the rare scientists doing that at the time. She was also cytogenetics, studying the DNA structure of plants, and then you modify the DNA structure for different varieties of plants, right? So she was
Like in Jurassic Park, they did it on dinosaurs.
yes. So that was done on the that was done on animals. On the plants, it is very common nowadays that when she initiated those things, it was very rare that time. But then that's how we produce the multiple varieties of sugars, wheats, brinjal, and other things, right? So she was one of the plant cytologist. So after coming back, she worked at.
Was she a freedom fighter too?
No, she was a scientist. Okay, and her contribution is in the field of botany and nutrition, rich diet in India. I'll come to that part. Okay, so after coming back, she worked at a sugarcane breeding station in Coimbatore, and here she helped create the sweetest variety of sugarcane in India. Okay, by DNA modification, she created the sweetest variety of sugarcane in India. During World War II, she was in London, working at the John Innes Horticulture Institute and Royal Horticultural Society. And for 6-7 years, till the World War II lasted, she stayed there. Here she studies the varieties of plants that gave insight into the evolution of variety of garden plants. Like she did a lot of research on the different garden plants that we have, especially in London that time, how those are evaluated. The plants were not the same 1,000 years back. Okay, how the plants, like the humans and the animals have evaluated, plants have also evaluated. The evolution of plant was the study done by her. In 1951, she was invited by our first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru to return to India and restructure the Botanical Survey of India, BSI. Okay, there was a institute. So Jawaharlal Nehru asked her to come back from London and restructure the institute. She took a charge of that institute and traveled to different parts of the country, collected herbs and explored agriculture in high altitude areas. So she made all the listing of different type of herbs found in different places of India. India has a very rich culture of those herbs, right? And different places of different. Northeast is something, southern India is different, North India is different type of herbs found. And they are useful medicinal plants. So she did a study of all of them. She also found ways to do agriculture or plantation on hills. Okay, the step farming kind of thing. So she found new ways to do that. She produced hybrid variety of brinjals. So there are different type of there are new type of brinjals she developed, which are good for eating and provided more nutrition. Government of India conferred the Padma Shri on her in 1977. She is one of the few Asian women to be conferred an honorary doctorate by her alma mater, the University of Michigan. Very few Asian women who got that honor. And in her honor, there are different type of flowers named after her. So there is a white magnolia flower, which is named after Janaki Ammal. And there is a new type of rose, which is also named after Janaki Ammal, so done by her students. And there is a Janaki Ammal herbarium, okay, with over 25,000 plant species collected from across the India Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine in Jammu. So there is an institute in Jammu where all the different type of plant species collected from India are kept there, and the museum is named after Janaki Ammal for her contribution in that field. So these are the flowers named after her. These are only two of them. There are a lot of other things named after her. Okay. So this is the magnolia flower in London, which is named after Janaki Ammal. Okay. Magnolia cobus Janaki Ammal. And there is a new different type of rose, which is called E.K. Janaki Ammal rose. Right? So and this is why the contribution of Janaki Ammal is very important in Indian science. The next story we have is of Jamnalal Bajaj.
Uncle, could you show that last slide again?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So there are different,
Thank you.
Yeah, magnolia has a different varieties of plants. So this particular white variety is named after her. Yeah, and similar for the case of rose. The next story we have is Jamnalal Bajaj. And the Bajaj name is very famous, right? You must be aware of the Bajaj scooter and Bajaj bikes. And yeah, he is the one who started the Bajaj group of industries. Okay.
He is Gandhiji's son.
Yes, we'll come to that. Yeah, he was industrialist as well as a freedom fighter. He was associated with the freedom movement. We come to that part. So Jamnalal Bajaj was born on 4th November 1889 at Kasikabas, which is a village near Sikar in Rajasthan. Okay. When he was 4 years old, a wealthy merchant of Varda called Seth Bacharaj adopted him as his grandson. So Bacharaj didn't have any grandson, and he was related to the family of Jamnalal Bajaj. So he adopted him at the age of 4 and moved him to Varda. Varda is a place in Maharashtra, okay, near Nagpur. Jamnalal inherited the business and wealth of Seth Bacharaj, who was a very wealthy person. He founded the Bajaj Group of Industries in 1920s, which is one of the big business houses of India right now. Right. Now, Jamnalal Bajaj was inspired by the simple life led by Mahatma Gandhi at Sabarmati Ashram. He became a lifelong follower of Mahatma Gandhi and adopted ashram life in Varda. He started living the similar ashram life in Varda. Okay. He was given the Rai Bahadur title by the British, for his other services. But during the non-cooperation movement in 1921, he gave up that title, okay, and joined the freedom movement. He convinced Vinoba Bhave, who was another freedom fighter and a social reformer, to come to Varda and start a Satyagraha ashram. And that's how the ashram in Varda was started. There is a Sevagram ashram in Varda. I have been to that place actually. So it's a very good ashram. Similar to Sabarmati ashram of Ahmedabad. So he started that ashram. After the Dandi March in 1930, he convinced Mahatma Gandhi to come to Varda. And after that, Mahatma Gandhi stayed at the Sevagram ashram. And Sevagram ashram still has that the place where Gandhiji stayed. He was, as I mentioned, he was inspired by Gandhiji and he was an ardent follower of Gandhiji. So he convinced Gandhiji to adopt him as his 5th son. Gandhiji had 4th son, right? We all know that. So the Jamnalal Bajaj was kind of adopted by Gandhiji as his 5th son. For his all the devotion, and he was one of the contributor to the Indian National Congress financially. He financially supported the freedom movement. He himself participated in many movements, including Nagpur Flag Satyagraha, the boycott of Simon Commission, and Salt March, the Dandi March. He himself took the initiatives and participated in all these freedom struggles. As a social reformer, Bajaj extensively worked on eradicating untouchability, which was very prominent in India at that time, right? The casteism and everything. So he worked on that thing. He opened his own family temple in Varda, which is Lakshmi Narayan Temple in Varda, for the Dalits and Harijans in 1928. So he worked on all similar social reforms there. He toured the country to promote Khadi. He also worked on cow protection, women education, and propagation of Hindi. So these are different types of social works he did throughout his life. and he died in 1942. So that is the story of Jamnalal Bajaj, and he made important contributions both from industrial point of view and from the freedom movement point of view. That's why he is one of the heroes. And this is the Sevagram ashram that I was talking about. This is actually a photo I only took. Okay, and this is the place where Gandhiji stayed. I went there in 3 years back, 1917. Yeah, 2017. Sorry. The next story we have is a Chittaranjan Das. So Chittaranjan Das was born in Calcutta on 5th November 1870. He was a poet and an activist of Bengal who is affectionately called Deshbandhu. Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das is how he was referred. He went to England for studies, and during his English stay, he campaigned for Dadabhai Naoroji to help him win a seat in the House of Commons from Central Finsbury. Dadabhai Naoroji was the first Asian to be elected in the British Parliament, and Chittaranjan Das, as a student, helped him in his campaign that time. After an unsuccessful attempt at ICS, which is the Indian Civil Services, he opted to join the legal profession and became one of the successful lawyers of Calcutta. And he had a very good legal practice in Calcutta. He defended many political revolutionaries in Calcutta. Like he defended Arvindo Ghosh on the charges of involvement in the Alipur bombing case in 1909. And similarly, he defended other revolutionaries when the cases came for the trial. So provided services to them. Now, Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das was also involved in the activities of Anushilan Samiti. Anushilan Samiti was a revolutionary organization in Bengal, especially in Kolkata and Dhaka and other Chittagong and other places. He was actively involved in those activities that time. During the non-cooperation movement, he became one of the leading figures of Bengal. He led the non-cooperation movement in Bengal. He traveled extensively. He gave up his Western attire for Khadi. As a lawyer, he was wearing the Western attire, but then he gave up those attire for the Khadi. His wife, Basanti Devi, also participated in the non-cooperation movement. She was very active in that, and she was actually the first woman to be arrested during the non-cooperation movement. Chittaranjan Das was also helped Annie Besant become the first Congress president in 1917 after the Home Rule Andolan. In 1922, Das resigned from Congress, and they, along with Motilal Nehru, Vithalbhai Patel, and S. Satyamurthy, they formed a Swaraj party who contested elections at various places in India and also won. In Kolkata, Chittaranjan Das became the first mayor of the Municipal Corporation of Kolkata in 1923. He was the first mayor of the municipality of Kolkata. And Subhash Chandra Bose was his chief executive officer. Subhash Chandra Bose was very young at that time. And Chittaranjan Das was the mentor of Subhash Chandra Bose. He guided Subhash Chandra Bose in the initial years. Subhash Chandra Bose considered Chittaranjan Das his mentor and worked under him till Chittaranjan Das was there. After his death, Subhash Chandra Bose carried his legacy to the further the freedom movement. So that is the story of Chittaranjan Das. Because of all the work he has done, he deserves it.
Is the break finished?
No. Which break?
You only had sent in that message, uncle.
Yes. I'll come to that. So
that will be.
Yes, after this, okay. After
that break.
Yeah, that break. I'll come to that part. Okay, we'll have this story and then we'll have a break. Okay, so I'll divide it into 2 parts and then we'll rejoin. Okay, using the same link, we'll rejoin. Okay. So yeah, this is the last for the break actually. And you, Aditi, correctly identified the name B S Haldane. Now he was a British actually, and still we have him as an Indian hero, and we'll go through that why his name is there. So John Burdon Sanderson Haldane was
some Britain people were not that bad, because some of those, like those collectors and stuff like that, they actually cared for Indians.
Yes.
Others were like army generals, like I don't remember the name. They were bad.
Yes, 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 yes. So yeah, Haldane had nothing to do with the freedom struggle and other thing. Haldane was a scientist, and after independence, he contributed to India. We'll come to that story. Okay. So John Burden Sanderson Haldane, that was his full name, is often referred as a JBS. JBS Haldane was born on 5th November 1892. Yeah, we'll quickly finish the story. Uh, in Oxford, in England. His father was a noted physiologist, so he started his science education since the early age under the guidance of his father. He obtained first class honors in mathematics from the University of Oxford and published his first research paper by the age of 20. But Haldane didn't have any science degree. Okay. But despite that, he made important contributions in the genetics, physiology, biochemistry, and other areas of science, especially related to biology. He was one of the three major figures to develop the mathematical theory of population genetics, along with Ronald Fisher and several Wright. And this, because of this, he was given the Darwin Prize. He threw some light on the evolution through the mathematical modeling. Haldane was perhaps the most brilliant science popularizer of his generation. He had the ability to present complicated concepts of science in a simplified way without distorting their meaning. He wrote a lot of books, especially on science fiction, to spread the concept of science to the younger generation and different people who are not actually connected to science. So he made science very popular. In 1957, Haldane moved from London to live and work in India. He worked with the Indian Statistical Institute in Calcutta, and then he moved to Bhubaneswar to work in a genetics and biometry laboratory in Bhubaneswar. Now, Haldane's research and teaching in India benefited many young scientists. Yeah, he inspired a lot of young scientists in India, especially taking up the biology and biochemistry subject. He played a significant role in improving the biology teaching in India. So whatever the biology teaching we are seeing right now in India is all thanks to Haldane. He made a lot of brilliant contribution to that thing, and that's why he's one of our Indian heroes in that aspect. For his outstanding contributions,
He made contribution in
yes, science. He didn't have any science degree, but he made a lot of scientific contributions. For his outstanding contributions, he received a lot of recognitions. He was elected the Fellow of Royal Society in 1932, which is a very prestigious for a scientist. He was awarded the Darwin Medal in 1953. Haldane was actually the first one to propose the idea of test tube babies in his science fiction, Daedalus. Okay. And true to his dedication to science, even after his death, he donated his body for the scientific research. So he is considered, he is known as a man who knew almost everything. Okay, he wrote on a lot of subjects. He was expert on a lot of things. And these are some of the books. The first book I mentioned, Daedalus, where he first time mentioned the concept of test tube babies. And now test tube babies are very much reality, right? And the book.
test tube babies aren't actually born in tubes.
Yeah, they are not actually born in tube, but yeah, the name came because the fertilization happens in a tube. Right? So he was the first one to propose that idea. So this is the story of Haldane. So now we know these people, right? Sagarmal Gopa and Chittaranjan Das, JBS Haldane, Jamnalal Bajaj, Janaki Ammal, and Vasudev Balwant Phadke. So these are very good stories to remember. We'll quickly go over the questions and we'll stop the session and you will rejoin. Yeah. So tell me.
Ramushi was Vasudev Balwant Phadke.
Yes, everyone.
Vasudev Balwant Phadke.
Yeah, you can unmute everyone. You can Dhani, Samad.
Vasudev Balwant Phadke.
Yes, Aditi, I got your answer. Yes. I can hear you. I was just confirming. Others have different answer.
No, I don't have a different answer.
Samarth, do you think this is correct? Vandit?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Varamoshi was a
Yes.
army set up by Vasudev Balwant Phadke in Pune. actually. Yeah. Now, Sevagram Ashram. Who founded the Sevagram Ashram? Sagarmal Gopa, Vasudev Balwant Phadke, Jamnalal Bajaj, or Chittaranjan Das?
Jamnalal Bajaj.
Yes or no? I'll pick
Yes.
up. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Jamnalal Bajaj is the correct answer. Very good. Botanical Survey of India. Who was associated with this? This name is associated with Dani.
This is
Just
Janaki Ammal.
yeah. Dani, is it right?
Just a minute.
Okay.
What?
Botanical Survey of India.
Yeah.
Yeah. Botanical Survey in India is related to botany, right? Plants, and plants is related to Janaki Ammal. Yes or no? Yeah.
I want to be somebody related to plants and animals.
Yes. And
Environment.
who was called Deshbandhu? Now, let other Vandit will give this answer. Vandit, who is this? Who was called Deshbandhu?
Chittaranjan Das.
Yes, perfect. Chittaranjan Das was called.
Yes.
So this is where we come to the end of this session. Take a break, and using the same link, we'll join after